What can Britain learn from the Australian election? Well, I'm delighted to be joined now in the studio by John McTernan himself. Welcome to the programme, and I suppose congratulations to your party for winning in Australia. How did they do it?
Look, they did it by being very, very small target. They had a few number of policies. They promised only a few things, but they offered a fresh start. And what they offered a fresh start on was climate. That, for me, is the defining question of this last election. I was out in Australia a couple of weeks ago, and the Labour Party were not having a razzmatazz election. They're having a very careful, very safe one, because they lost an election 3 years ago, which they thought they'd win. And it was the Independents and the Greens taking seats from the Liberal Party, the Conservative Party, losing inner urban voters, professional women voters, on the issue of climate change. So what you saw is it was a country deciding it needed change and using the Labour Party as the instrument to achieve that change, which feels to me very similar to the mood in our country at the moment.
There are remarkable parallels. The Liberals, as you rightly say, the sort of Conservatives, the classical Liberals to some extent, in Australia have been in power since 2013.
Yep.
The Conservatives in the United Kingdom have been in power since 2010. That's sort of around about a decade for each party. And indeed, there is this sort of change in voting patterns. The Liberals in Australia holding on to what we might define as red wall type seats, but losing the urban, professional, well-to-do areas. Is there a lesson there for the Tories, particularly with these Lib Dem facing seats?
Well, I think you're exactly right there. The Australian Liberals have had no positive discrimination for women candidates in their party. As a consequence, women just left the party. They didn't just leave the party, they left the party and became independents and stood against them. So if you don't accommodate women within your politics, there's now 2 million female professionals at work in Australia. That's more than the combined number of tradies, the working class voters that have been fought over so much in recent elections. So I think you've got a sense of an educated, professional, feminised electorate, and you've got the political parties, particularly Liberals, fighting over the voters they won from the Labour Party. And actually, they didn't make any progress in the coal seats in the Hunter Valley, the coal seats in New South Wales. So even some of the working class vote has come to Labour and not to the Liberal Democrats, the Liberal Party, not the Liberal Democrats. And I think it is a warning for the Tories about the blue wall, or a warning for the Tories about what I would call the sea wall, all the seats along the coast, the southern coast from Dover all the way to Cornwall, all of which I'd say, which are Tory held at the moment, are under threat. And that's because the changing nature of the electors, the demands they make. And if you don't meet what the voters want, whether it's on climate or whether it's on cost of living, you'll get chucked out. And it doesn't matter if you say the other guys aren't any good. The voters don't care. They're chucking you out because you're the government. They judge your record.